and opinion. And let me just bring on the preview. Bring up very live. Hello everyone, and welcome to the November end of year internationals wrap up. What we're going to do is I'm going to run through all of the games. Yes, there are a whole bunch of games because the tier 2 games are happening as well as the tier 1. So there's perhaps a couple of games you weren't aware of happening. So we'll run through all of those and get you totally up to date with all of the scores. I'll also have a quick chat. Actually, before we get into the men's, there was one women's international this weekend, which was the USA women playing the Black Ferns from New Zealand. It finished 6-67. So as you can probably see, the USA women didn't score a single try. And yes, it was a bit of a one-sided affair. But yes, the world champions, which is what the Black Ferns are, showed their class yet again. There's only kind of a couple of sides in the world England, who can really, and perhaps France, and Ireland sometimes, who can really sort of compete with each other. Otherwise, it's all pretty much those four kind of a long way ahead of all of the rest in that one. Evening, Alex. Thank you very much for joining me. So, yes, the Black Ferns got that comfortable victory there. Some other games you may not be aware of. So the Dragons took on Hong Kong. Hong Kong are warming up for the repechage, which starts this weekend for the Rugby World Cup, and they lost to Dragons 28-24. Remember that Dragons were playing in the Pro 14 this weekend, so they didn't have their full strength side out either. Another team that's warming up for those repechage games are Canada, and they played Oxford University in Oxford, and that finished 20-26. So Canada got up over Oxford University. And then another warm-up game for that, Crawshays RFC in Wales. I know nothing about them, to be honest. Lost to Hong Kong again. So Hong Kong played two games, one on the 29th and then the other one on the 2nd. So they've had a couple of games, obviously rotating, trying to get most of their squad to play out, I guess. But they won that game 24-35. So the Rugby World Cup repechage kicks off this weekend. We'll be chatting about that during the Hash Rugby Chat tomorrow night, 8 p.m. So do join us for that. So the first of the sort of big games, as it were, Japan hosted New Zealand. It finished 31-69, and Japan were never really in it. New Zealand ran out comfortable winners in that one. Moanga obviously played well. Laumapi had a good game. A couple of players that didn't play so well. Naholo wasn't had a few issues, and also Geordie Barrett as well. So two of the players. One of the things we'll be talking about on Wednesday night is which players played themselves into, which ones players may have played themselves out of the Rugby World Cup extended squad in this game. So join us on Wednesday for the All Blacks edition, where we'll be talking about that. So beat Japan 31-69. A couple of people mentioned that there was enough respect being shown, all that kind of stuff. And I think so. You can tell by the score that there was no point in the All Blacks first team rolling out for this one. I'm not sure what it would have, what that may have achieved. Another team that is in the Rugby World Cup repechage is Kenya. They went down 36-5 to Romania in Romania. So obviously their repechage kickoff has not gone well. There are some trade disputes, etc., going on in Kenya between the unions and the players. So not entirely surprising that they're struggling, to be honest. For a full roundup of the Japan versus the All Blacks, you can go and have a quick watch my video on the All Blacks edition. I did a review of that game. So we'll talk about it more in depth on Wednesday night. Wales then beat Scotland 21-10. This game obviously was marred by a lot of talk about the Doddy Weir Cup, and then in the end the teams did, or the two unions between them did say they were going to make a 6-figure donation to the Dolly Weir charity, which is good. And he obviously was in attendance and enjoying himself. One of the problems with this game, and we'll talk about this for the other games later on as well, is that this one was out. This game is outside the international window, so they don't have all their players released. Any players that play in England or France are probably not being released for this game. So players like Finn Russell weren't available to Scotland, but also having players like Hogg injured, it didn't help them either. Wales were also missing. I have one or two players who were not available as well. Scotland's still struggling with their away form, especially against home nation sides. They lost the collision zone, and Wales really bossed them in that area. It's a tactic that Wales have used very well against European teams. Tends to come unstuck when they play the Southern Hemisphere nations. So it's going to be interesting to see how Wales go with the rest of their rest of their international window. Obviously, they had a good summer tour against Argentina, winning both those games. A bit of a turnaround renaissance for them. They do seem to be a team on the up. Scotland slipped up against the USA, but then went on to beat Argentina in the summer. This loss, again, that was a weakened side. A lot of players were rested for that summer tour. This again, I say the players are missing. There's some key injuries as well. So, Scotland will be looking at doing well at home. As I say, they have struggled away from home quite a bit, and but they never really got into this one. It was 14-10 at half time, so they did manage to pull it back with the line out maul just before 35 minutes, but with just one try in that second half, which went to scored by Jonathan Davis, really was the only try. So yeah, not a high scoring affair. Another non-high scoring affair was England versus South Africa. Again, if you want a full review of that one, you can check out my post-match interview on this channel for England versus South Africa. It finished 12-11. England scoring 4 penalties, to South Africa's try and 2 penalties with the missed conversion there. South Africa really got themselves to blame for this game. Their line-out went to pieces. The 2 5-metre line-outs were overthrown, which were prime situations for them to get their driving maul on, which had been working well. So also Pollard's kicking wasn't great. He only hit 50% of his kicks. Whereas England missed 1, he missed 2, and it was only a 1-point score margin. You've got to say that that South Africa should have won this game, and they lost it more than England won it. Yes, England defended well, but not that well that South Africa didn't have opportunities to win this game and put it away. They'll be very disappointed with themselves for that. England, this was an absolutely crucial victory for them. After having a shocking Six Nations, losing twice, or losing 2-1 in the summer to South Africa, down in South Africa, they really needed a morale-boosting victory, especially with New Zealand coming up next. There's been a lot of chat about what is a successful window for England, because England have got South Africa, Australia, and New Zealand, plus Japan. Now, obviously England will beat Japan. Now they've beaten South Africa, that's good. They need to also win that Australia game. I think it's Australia, or is it Argentina? I'm going to make sure. I need to make sure I'm not going to made a mistake there. Losing to New Zealand, obviously everyone loses to New Zealand most of the time, so there will be no shame in that. But yes, is Australia. But England, will want to come away with 3 victories out of the 4 for it to be a successful, for it to be a good window. Be an okay one if they just get if they did lose to Australia, but having won, they'll be looking at doing better than that. Obviously, South Africa in this one were weakened. They're missing their 5 or so players that play in the Premiership. So Faf de Klerk, Willie le Roux, I've gone blank to see the players are low at Bath, the prop, Vincent Koch, I think it is. And on Mostert, that's it. So missing those 5 players, all potentially starters, which is maybe Lowe wouldn't start nowadays, but 5 key members of their squad in that one. So missing those players, and yet then they still only lost by 1 point. England have got a load of injuries, but they always do because of the attritional because of the number of games they play in the Premiership. Ireland, after that USA Black Ferns game, Ireland played against Italy on the same pitch and beat Italy 54-7. Italy were never. Italy were never in this one is perhaps a tad harsh. Ireland had a try disallowed pretty much within the first couple of minutes, but they only got themselves 14-7 up at half time and then ran away with it in the second half. They should have scored more points in that first half, to be fair. But they butchered a couple, and Italy also did butcher another one and did butcher a chance in that first half as well. But Ireland were pretty much in control of the actual play. Italy's try did come from an interception. So just before half time, Ireland rested a whole bunch of players for this one. This wasn't a first string side from them by any stretch of the imagination. Sexton et al. Were left at home preparing for who have they got this weekend? Preparing for Argentina. That's right, before they face the All Blacks, and then have the USA as a nice wind down at the end. So yes, it's a comfortable victory for them there. So even though they didn't have a full strength side, the USA then took on the Māori All Blacks. And the USA obviously also missing some of their players, like Sammy Manoa, and also some of their English-based players as well. And they went down at 22-59 to the Māori All Blacks. The Māori All Blacks are pretty dominant in this one. They did pick up 3 yellow cards though, which was I think 2 for repeats and then 1 for a big man on a small man, and he picked him up and slammed him onto the floor. That one was going to hurt. Sure, he didn't take the player beyond the horizontal, but he did lift him up and basically slam him into the ground from probably about 5 foot in the air after he picked him up, and considering how tall he was. And it was a lock against a scrum half, I think, from memory. Not surprised that he got the yellow card for that one, because yes, it was reckless. At the very least, in that tackle, reckless / dangerous. So even with 3 yellow cards, the USA came up short. The USA did score a try when the Māori All Blacks were down a player, but immediately in the second half, when they still were down 2 players. Sorry, the USA scored when they were down two players. When the Māori All Blacks managed to run back the restart at half time, and they just stretched out that lead. They were never in danger. A couple of consolation tries in there to kind of boost that USA score. So that was the third game of the triple header at Chicago on Soldier Field. Hope people had a great day. Hope it spread the word. Looking forward to next weekend. I'll be doing my predictions tomorrow night. But not only do we have the internationals that you are probably looking forward to, such as England versus New Zealand, Ireland, Argentina, France and Africa, kind of the big ones. Australia do also play this weekend. Trying to pick out where their game is. Sure, they're playing this weekend. Okay, anyway, so I can't find Australia's game off the top of my head. But we've also got Uruguay playing first Cardiff and then Ulster. Got Russia and Namibia, Italy hosting Georgia. That will be one of the key, that should be one of the key games this window, because there's all this talk about how Georgia are ranked above Italy in the world rankings and should be in the Six Nations. Well, here's Georgia's opportunity to get their first ever Tier 1 scalp. Georgia have never beaten a Tier 1 team. Japan have. Obviously, the Pacific Island teams have. Now this will be Georgia's turn to get one. Obviously, the USA beat Scotland during the summer. So here we go. This is their big opportunity here to get that. So yes, so that's what's happening this weekend. Oh yeah, Australia playing Wales. That's it. There we go. Thank you, Alex, for pointing that one out. There are so many games, it's hard just to pick that one out. So yeah, so all the big games. Obviously, yeah, can Wales do what they've done against European opposition against Southern Hemisphere? It's been one of the questions. Obviously, England, New Zealand was the game we wanted last year, but hey, we've got it at last anyway. Ireland, Argentina, repeating that quarter-final loss where Argentina put Ireland out of the Rugby World Cup in 2015. France and Africa always can be a cracker as well. So some good games coming up this weekend, so keep an eye out for all of those. Yeah, enjoy whatever rugby you're watching this weekend. Oh, sorry, of course, do subscribe up there for the Driving Maul. I'll put the All Black session down here. Actually, no, I'll put the Driving Maul rugby predictions down there so you can get my international predictions tomorrow night. And up there and down there are two videos that you'll absolutely adore if you have kept around this long. Thanks.